Hello, this is Einar from Unity Center Web TV. Today we have Franco DeNicola from Canada, an exciting person that has a lot to tell us. I wondered first if you can tell me a little bit about short your life history up till now, if you can do it short.
Well, that's a tough one, but we'll do our best. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on for your show here and this opportunity. But as for my story, I mean, it's a bit of an unusual story, but it also has a commonality to it. The soul that's in my body that has come here for a very specific reason, to assist with the transformation that's happening right now. So when I did arrive on the planet, I had a high level of consciousness available at that time to give me an idea to observe at a higher level of consciousness. But before I turned age 5, 80% of access of consciousness was actually put off so that I could have more of a human condition or a human experience. So there was 39 years that I basically lived like everybody else, but always had that little bit more of awareness and observation that I could utilize. And because of that, I was able to have my own guiding system to go forward. It was very difficult for me at that point in time to relate with humanity to the same degree and getting lost in the game of what everybody played. But there was enough of it to get a real good taste of it. Then in about 2001, that's when the time came where it was ready for me to start having higher access to that higher consciousness. So since then, I've been having more and more access and remembering more why I was here to do and what I came to do. So even though I've been speaking and doing personal work for many years, it had started going to a higher level. And now, of course, I have full almost 90%. I have full 90%. I still have 10% I don't have access to, but that was purposely for me to still have a human connection with humanity. And I mean, there's a lot of things that happened to give me a real good feel of what the human condition, while carrying that higher consciousness. So you could have both sides and facilitate.
Yes. Do you remember anything from up to 5 years old? Well, did you remember your earlier lives, or what did you?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because there's two parts of it. Because the soul, because I had so much access, I could see that I had 923 lives on one part of the soul and 625 the other part of the soul, which, you know, we're twin souls. And because my soul has united as one, but then it also united with, you know, 46 other combined souls. So I had access to many, many, many lives. You can see all the different things that played out. So the different roles that I played in different lifetimes and so forth. And specifically the last life that I had on this planet, which I left in 1807. I was here for quite a while, but 60% of that time I was in an awakened state, so that I could actually, but I wasn't also living around amongst people. I was living in the Himalayan mountains in that point and becoming a teacher, but the students will come from a long distance to come to observe and to learn from a higher consciousness perspective. It was very difficult to be in that lower energy with a larger group of people, because people were very dense, or what we consider a very archaic state at that time.
What happened in 2001 then? What did you decide yourself, or did you had an experience?
Well, you know, the thing is, in 2001, it became a realization. In one of my deep meditation, I met with my guides, one specific guide, and basically says, okay, now it's time. We've been monitoring the planet, and it's ready for you to reactivate the consciousness that you had, but also it's upgraded along the way. So from that state, I saw this activation, and when I came out of it, I could see the streaming of higher knowing, and it was becoming. I could actually, in a sense, if you have to look at it, the world started to look very different right away.
Yeah.
It's almost like it had a different color. Before it was like a black and white world. Then more colors started to come out. Not all fully at first, but it started to come out, and it felt very different too.
Yeah.
Now, as it went along over the years, because it was done in stages, bit by bit. And then, of course, the 90% was achieved in around at the end of 2012 or last year, when I the full 90% came in. And during that period, there was more and more that was expanding. And of course, now you could see the duality even much grander. The world that we're living in, and the world that we have the potential of creating. Because that was the thing I was seeing. I was seeing the new world. And I was already living in that new world by this point in time. And this world now feels very awkward and foreign, actually, in a way. It just doesn't feel that it's the same world. But so I'm acting as the bridge because I can see both worlds. I live mostly in one world, but I work in this world to create that bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what is your real mission then?
Well, my mission is to facilitate with the conscious awareness that's happening. It's basically awakening. It's part of the shifting. It's a shift in consciousness that's happening. The codes that the soul carries, that is working on, is oneness. Is to reactivate the oneness consciousness. And also to reactivate our capability to connect to our natural matrix, our natural state of being, our true nature. Because we're not living our natural state. That there's a whole thing that has occurred from 10,000 years ago that altered us from getting from our natural state to the state that we've been living for the last 10,000 years. Now we're going through a whole complete transformation where all of that is changing, all of that is unfolding. That's why the world is starting to feel different. Maybe a little less in Norway because there is a sort of a bubble here where it's kind of protected, comfortable, and so forth. But in many parts of the world, it's not that way. Things are falling apart. The financial system, the control systems, the governmental systems, everything is being challenged to a larger degree. And you can also notice it in the internet too. Once you start accessing, you start to see so much is changing. And then people are becoming much more aware of what's going on within the systems. You know, they talk about all the different things with chemtrails and whatever else is going on. They're becoming more conscious of that. But that's only a transitional period, because the first part, you'll notice, is that when people figure that out, they get angry, they get upset. Look what they're doing to us and so forth. But with higher consciousness, you realize that that's still part of a process that we're learning from, and that we can easily shift from one to the other. And that's what is created through this experience. So my purpose here, my only purpose, because I'll tell you one thing, I do not have the same desires to live the world like everybody else does. Even as a kid, to me, the world seemed fake, even though I was part of it and I played the role. And I did come from a family that, from an Italian background, very religious and all that stuff. Even though it didn't feel part of it, I did play the role for a while, and then I started to step out of it. But the same time as we were going through it, I never had the same desires, to amass this and to have stuff in my life, and that I needed to get somewhere before I felt good about myself. Those things were not important to me. And when people talked about, what are your goals? I said, I don't have any goals. I'm here to do a purpose, and I really feel strongly that whatever's going to unfold when it needs to unfold, I will just be doing that. And this is all I do. This is full time. I teach. I basically share in large volumes the information. I also do private sessions, but I don't do it as much. At the same time, I work behind the scenes. I have the soul itself has access. I go into an altered state every single day for many, many hours, and work behind the scenes on the operating system and changing the consciousness of a collective scale. Wow,
that sounds exciting. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What you're doing on the other side, changing the consciousness?
Yeah, so basically some of the fundamental things I work on is on the matrix, because we have two matrices. We have the natural matrix, which is connected to all the matrices of other planets. Then we have the superimposed matrix, which was applied 10,000 years ago. And that matrix is actually in reverse. So whatever's true is made into a lie, and whatever is a lie is made into truth.
Is that's only on the world here?
Yes, on the world here. Yeah. So that particular matrix. Now there are inverted matrices that were created on different planets, but most of them have already stepped out of that a long time ago. But this has still two matrices. Now the superimposed one is actually going through a transformation. So part of my work was going in there, changing the programs. Because if you really look at it, how it's designed, the moment you get a consciousness state of seeing the truth, you're going to automatically get everybody opposing you, because it's designed that way. It's like, I see the truth. No, you're crazy, or whatever it is. So you look at it. Education is not about expanding consciousness, expanding awareness, and using creativity. It's about making you smaller. You take the next step. If you take in religion, it's not about connecting to your true self, spirituality. It's about controlling, eliminating, and minimizing, and creating something outside of you. If you look at the government is designed about equality, balance, harmony. It's about expansion and creating an environment so everybody flourishes from it. But instead, guess what's happening? It is actually completely opposite. You take a look at all the other systems. Think about law. Law is not about justice, fairness, balance, or anything of that. It's actually reversed. The medical system, it's not about health and creating vibrancy in the physicality. It's actually compromising and demising into a point where it actually extinguishes you. So you can see how that works. So anything that is being discovered as alternate resources and so forth automatically are closed down because of that matrix. And then of course people are into that. So the modification is to change those programs so that we create openings and then we allow it to bridge. That's one thing. The other part of it is also working on timelines, which we go in and look at all the different timelines, the different potentialities of planet Earth, because planet Earth has also alternate planets, what we call parallel worlds and so forth. Now we have our own parallel lives too. But you go in, so remember the prophecies that have been made, that the planet will be self-destructed, or we're going to have these anti-things coming in and so forth, and all these, projections that were made. Predictions, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of those things never played out because we've gone in and actually altered so that we would not fall into that. First of all, that was part of a collective, but at the same time, by working with other beings, you can go in and alter the programs, because the programs were first originally programmed so that you would fall into those traps.
Okay.
So now we took those traps out so that it gave a more equal balance for humanity to raise their consciousness rather than keep pushed down all the time. So that was part of the changes. So we go in and change some of the timelines and take out the timelines that were not conducive to humanity's higher order. The other part is changing consciousness. Now, we have several consciousness. We have the collective consciousness, which is basically taking everything. That is, every single soul makes up that collective consciousness. But you have to understand, then we have pockets of consciousness. Those pockets of consciousness are positioned in different parts. For example, Norway itself has its own collective consciousness, but each area, like Oslo and all other parts, have pockets of consciousness. But then within those consciousnesses, you have people that are Norwegian, then we have people that are from Israel, then we have people that are from different parts, Asia, whatever it is. They create their own little nucleus of consciousness. Now, the consciousness has been designed in such a fashion so that there is certain default responses. That means if somebody says something, it's either they default as a response or a natural way of looking at things based on what the condition of that collective has created. Then you have an alter one, which was a false one that was created, which was part of the teachings and everything else that has occurred. But that both of them are closed up. So what we go in, the soul does is go in, take the two, change the consciousness and create a third one in between, so that anyone now has access. So now it's like door 1, door 2, but now you're creating door number 3. That door number 3 is of higher consciousness. So if there's certain things that are stimulated within the person itself, where they're now looking for an alternate of something, there's another option. And that option now helps. And what that has been doing is allowing more people to awaken, more people to start seeing outside of the box, start seeing outside of the programs, starting to see, hey, wait a minute, I am more than this physicality. I am a consciousness that is projecting this physicality, that I am here completely part of this transformation, and start seeing my true purpose, because most people don't know why they're here. Because that's a huge question that people ask all the time. What's my purpose? And not really realizing, but now starting to realize, hey, my purpose is here to come, to play, to experience life through my creation of play. I'm here to learn about my discoveries and experience and so forth, and to become more enlightened. And that means becoming true essence of who you are, grander than you started off from. You're not coming here to play to forget who you are and remember who you are. You're doing that, but you're actually expanding, because look at that. This planet Earth, what is it? It's a schoolyard and a playground. And we chose to be here.
Yeah.
And we chose to create what we are creating.
Yeah. But what you're talking about, go back to the government is doing this, but it should be like this. The medical complex is doing that, and it should be like that. Is it? I thought about, is the ego is playing the earth now? Is the ego that's wants to make money, wants to get respect and all these things? So and then you're trying to get people down to the heart.
Yes.
Just gonna say it that way.
Yeah, you could say that way, because really, when we say we're going to the heart, what you're doing is you're tuning into your soul.
Yeah.
Okay, your higher self.
Yeah.
Because remember, it's not the heart itself. The heart itself moves the energy through the blood system and so forth. But what's there is actually the heart is a portal that connects to your soul. So it's basically taking yourself from the head, from the ego programming. Because remember, the ego operates on the program. We're operating on program. The mind operates on program, meaning what you've been taught, what you've been conditioned, and so forth. Yeah, okay, I need to have money, I need to have this, I need to have that as part of my journey, but that's only the ego part of it. Remember, when you're tuning to yourself, you go, okay, what am I here for to do? Yes, I'm here because you do come here with a list of things that you wanted to achieve and to learn, to facilitate. Because each life that you have is another step forward, or at least the opportunity for another step forward. So what we're doing is now, part of the shifting is bringing us back to our soul. But it's not only bringing it to our soul, it's now creating an alignment between between the mind itself, the body, and the soul, so that it's working together rather than fragmented.
Yeah.
Because right now the soul is saying, we came here for a purpose, this is what we're here to do, we're going to create the scenario as best as possible. The body's saying, I don't know what to do anymore because I feel disconnected, I'm in survival mode, I need to eat, I need to do this, I got to protect myself, and I'm afraid of things and so forth. The mind, of course, the ego mind, is creating all types of stories, using the past, the future, and keeping you out of the moment, keeping you out of your present. It doesn't matter you're here, are you really here? Most of the time you're not. You're thinking about this, and even when you're here, your mind is being distracted all over the place, right? But the ego has a real tool with that. Now that has served, but now we're retuning it, because what's happening, the ego was always there to be designed to give us a multitude of varieties. But what happened is we allowed it to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, so that it now drives. It's in the driver's seat. It's like you get into your car, and I give that analogy in my seminars. You get into the car, and guess what? You're either the driver, you're either the passenger. But what's happened is the ego has gotten so powerful that it's driving. You're not even in the back seat anymore. You're in the trunk, and you're going, "Let me out! Let me out! I want to go someplace else." Right? So that's how it's really working. Yeah.
Is it many people working in the behind, as you said?
Well, in percentage-wise, it's very small amount, but it's not only because there are many souls on the planet that are doing that, scattered all over the world on different grid lines. But we also have beings which are from other planets that have been conditioned and prepared to help us in that sense. So they don't actually do the changes, they actually do the research and find where all the things in and may make suggestions. But the souls that have been on the planet, so there are superhumans on the planet, and there are souls that are much more awakened, that go into the alpha state and they work together. So in actual fact, there's about 49 that have that key role, that are scattered in different parts of the planet. So there's 48, and then there's one that is playing a main role. And then my soul happens to be playing the main role for the 48 that are working together. So there's 48 other souls that are in a higher capacity that go into altered states. So we meet, not in physical form, but we meet in the etheric side of things, or we go behind it.
No, we're far out here.
Yes, and then, of course, then we have beings, planets that do show up, that we have agreements with, that are facilitating. There's so much that's going on right now. It's just amazing what we're going through.
Yeah, it's amazing times. Do you see anything? How fast is it going? What's I see the world is still wars everywhere, and most people aren't aware of this at all. It's a few percentage that's working with themselves to get to get in their own consciousness and all these things?
Well, in general, actually, the huge amount of it, there's about 22% of the population right now, it's probably close to
22%?
that are at least starting to work on it, on themselves, and looking at some, even questioning things and so forth. So it's not like it's all of it, but there's still 76 to 78% that are still quite asleep. You're right. There is a lot of still, wars and stuff like that going on. There's still a lot of negative energies, but right now you'll notice that people are not just jumping in the way they were before. There's a lot of resistance to the wars. Like, they're trying to start World War III. There's a lot of things that have been put in place. People are not accepting it. Even though there's going to be some stuff that's going to play out, but you remember, like, you have different countries that are key. The Asian country, you're talking about Russia, and you're talking about the United States. They're not so interested. Even the leaders are saying, okay, we need to prepare, we need to go and play out this game in Syria and so forth. But the people are saying, no, we're not supporting it, and they're rebelling against it, in a sense, because they already feel we're not going to go down that path. So there's so much going on in that. Whatever's playing out now in the war, like the negative part, it's really giving people a feel. Like, for example, when somebody wants to indulge in something, so it's giving a level of indulgence in that dark energy, so to get their fill to finally say, no more, I'm not playing this any longer. So what's really playing out now is the polarity is really very accentuated, and people are not easily just jumping in. They may be jumping in, but they're also pulling back at the same time. Even the ones that have gone into the military, how many are pulling back? Many of them are starting to realize, and I've seen many, and I've worked with many, that at times they're saying, what are we doing here? This is crazy. We don't want no part of this. And then they're coming back and they're speaking out, and they're saying, hey, this is false. We're not doing this any longer, and so forth. So, yes, but like your question is, how quickly is this? Things have speeded up tremendously now that we've gone into the 21st of December 2012, which was a tipping point into a fourth dimensional consciousness. We have 2 years, which we're already in the first year of it, of huge transformation. But that's only the first phase. Then there's another 2 years going into 2017 that is accelerating. If you're looking at frequency-wise, you have to understand, each time, we've gone through 3 cycles. Each cycle is 5,125 years long. Each time we only have like a 0.4 to 0.6 transformation of hertz or frequency on the planet. So the last 2 cycles of 5,125 years, we went from 7 to 7.4. From what we went from 5,125 years ago to 1986-87, there was another 7.4 to 7.8. Now you're talking about from 1987, that's only just over 25 years ago, to December 21st, 2012, we went from 7.8 to 13.
Wow.
We went from December 21st till just yesterday to 13.54 hertz. That means the frequency of the planet is now at that frequency. So you can see how quickly it's changing. By the time we hit 2015, which is only a year and a few months away, we'll be at 15 hertz. By the time we hit 2017, we'll be at 17 hertz. The Earth, the Sun itself, with all the solar flares and everything else, is vibrating at 28 hertz, which has doubled within a few years. We have also an alignment with our galactic central sun, which is at 210 hertz. All of this is coming in. The planets have realigned. The whole solar system is repositioning itself. There is so much going on right now. There's so much stimulation occurring right now to awaken people to go into this new state of consciousness. Because what's happening right now is that we have agreed at the soul level as a collective to go into this new world, to create a whole completely new reality. So regardless of what we've experienced up to this point in up to time has served and brought us where we are today. But what we're doing now is we're stepping on something completely brand new. And we are creating something that does not have any more rigid timelines. We do not work with consistent time. We create the opportunity for us to create everything moment by moment. So we are on a completely open platform of creating flexibility. And there's so many other changes that have occurred since then and will continue to occur. So in comparison, saying, well, it took us 10,000 years to get where we are today, but we're talking about in a matter of a short period of years, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, the world will be so different. Looking at it now and say, well, wow, this is huge. How can we change all of this? And I can tell you one thing. A shift in consciousness can change anything overnight. I'm telling you, if everybody woke up tomorrow morning and said, okay, we're not going to play this game this way anymore, do you think that this is going to still look this way in a matter of months? Not at all, because everybody will come together and that's change everything. And that new world will not have survival, will not have struggle, will not have fear, will not no longer compete, will no longer need to take advantage of one another. It will be coming together, serving one another, creating an environment where we don't need money, we don't need ownership, we don't need control. We have accessibility for everyone, and there's equality and balance. And everybody will do what they love to do, and we'll automate anything that we don't need to do, but are required. And we make everything simplicity. We're no longer going to be running on fossil fuels, creating all this toxicity and everything else, because at the same time, we will connect with the planet. So we're going to have respect for plant life, animals, ocean, everybody, and everything. And that will happen in such a short period of time in comparison to anything that we've experienced.
In a few years? Or?
Yes, wow. Absolutely.
Okay, so I have something to look forward to then.
Absolutely.
But all these people that's not into this, what are they going to get so bombarded with energy that they have to translate? Or?
Well, two things is going to happen. It's the energies as they're increasing, it's either they shift, so it becomes so unbearable to hold on to the old world, okay? And what that means, the changes are going to happen inside. That means anything that you defined yourself, anything that you've attached yourself in the past, will come to the surface, and that's already happening now. So a lot of people are feeling old pains, old fears, old concerns, and all that stuff, and all the stuff that they learned are now being challenged within themselves. So it'll become so unbearable, they have to either let it go, or the soul will decide, at this point in time, say, okay, this is too difficult for me, we're going to leave. And leaving means leaving the body, checking out, whatever you want to call it. Now, what's going to occur in that transitional aspect of it is it's the soul that will decide at this point in time. Because you have to understand, the soul requires the body and the mind to function. Now, the control structures have known that and had insight of that. And they've basically, what have they done? They've conditioned people to be so closed up and damaged the body so much by the medical, the food, the additives, all the other stuff that they're doing. Vaccines and whatever, all that, GMOs, you name it, to burden the body so that it doesn't work properly, and then of course alter the mind so that the soul is feeling itself stuck and say, okay, I need to convert the body, convert the mind so that I can continue the journey. Because really the soul, the only reason it would leave is that it can't get the body and the mind to work or cooperate because it's so far lost in that state. So then it says, okay, I'll leave, and then I'll come back. Now, either I come back on this planet, or I have the opportunity to go back on another planet that has a third dimensional consciousness. So it has that choice. So that's really what's going to happen. So there are going to be, a lot of souls that by the end of 2014, going into 2015, that will be the first, cycle of souls that will leave or shift. And then the next cycle of wave will be by the end of 2016 and going into that. So then when you're into 2017, you're basically going to have a certain level of consistency of souls that are matching with the vibration of the planet, so that there'll be more harmonious. You're not going to have so much, polarity, meaning people are asleep, people are awake. Everybody will be to a certain level of awakeness by the time you enter into 2017. That's not a long time.
That's fantastic. Is the Earth already in the fourth dimension?
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
Now, you have to understand, it has been all fully encoded in the fourth dimensional consciousness. So, what's happened is we've had 4 activations, and the final one was August the 8th this year. That just passed.
Okay.
That was the last activation. Now, there's the full integration will occur by January 2014. So there's the integration occurring now. Everything is coming into pieces. All the codes are in there. So the full vibration of the fourth dimensional consciousness will be established fully by January 2014, which is only a few months away. Now, of course, by that time, it's going to be even more challenging for people to hold on to the old world. But there's still, that energy will still continue to increase. So the souls to stay in third dimensional consciousness will have until the end of 2014 to really either shift and enter at least the entry point into fourth, or they will leave. Now, what happens then, the planet starts to align of the 2015 going into fifth dimensional consciousness. This is unheard of, of having such a short duration, because fourth is only a bridge. Originally, the planet was designed to go the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, up to ninth. This particular planet was tuned for that. Unfortunately, that got changed. Well, not unfortunately, it had a perfection to it in too. But now, it's only a short cycle. But you can be in fourth dimensional consciousness until 2017. You need to be, by the time you enter into 2017, you need to at least be the entry point of fifth dimensional consciousness. So now, when we're into 2017, everybody's at least into fifth dimensional consciousness. So you can see. So the planet is in fourth right now. And it's already queued up to go into shift into fifth, but that won't happen until the entry point of the fifth. But then there's a 1 year integrational process. So there's various activations. Now the planet could make that shift very easily. However, the integration is done gently for humanity. For humanity and everything on the planet that has been so locked up in that low frequency, giving it time and staging to bring it in. And then the waves of energy will keep coming in. We're being downloaded with codes all the time. Okay? And of course, during this experience, you're going to find a lot more unstableness with our functional system, but also unstableness on the planet, because the planet is also purging old energies. You're talking about years and years of pain, killing, this and all of that. The planet has absorbed it all.
Yes.
Okay, so now it's purging it out. So volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis. You're going to have weather patterns changing. You probably, I don't know if you've heard, but there's a lot of, encode sounds that are occurring, showing up, all this from the sky, all these weird sounds and so forth. These are all part and parcel of all these changes that are taking place at this time.
Wow.
It's amazing what we're going through, my friend.
But what can everybody do? What do everybody have to do to come into these vibrations?
Well, the key thing with all of this is basically to be in an observer state and to observe what's going on within yourself first and foremost. Everything is helping you to at least realize that there's something that needs to change in you. And when I'm talking about changing, is to really look at what all that you've taken on as your way of life. Okay, so what you're going to look at is what pulls you into that old world. What may see the biggest key right here is to see what's very uncomfortable for you. Okay, because that's one of the things. For example, if you're in a relationship and somebody, the interaction is always stirring up anger, or fear, or resentment, or something of that nature. It's not about the relationship's the issue. The relationship is set up for you to start looking at some of your old programs. What do I believe about this? Why am I uncomfortable?
Yeah.
And then at that point you can start looking at the stories, because they're basically stories, belief systems, and perceptions that you've taken on. So that's the first and foremost, is start looking at things that keep you in the old world, that keep you in fear, that keep you stuck in that old modality that you've came in. Things that come up in the surface, pains and this and discomforts and so forth. And when you're looking at that, it's not to look at the environment and looking at people and say, well, okay, these people make me mad and it's their fault. No, these people are playing a role. They're there to push my buttons.
Yeah.
My buttons, what do I have that's active in me? That's what I need to look at. And that's the part that you need to start letting go. Does this serve anymore? Do I need to carry this? And as you do that, what happens? People talk about we need to raise our vibration. Well, our vibration is already designed to be high. Our vibration is already at source level, or at least the capability, but it's been lowered to have this experience. But as you remove your belief systems, programs, and everything that lowers you, the stuff that keeps you in that worry state, the stuff that keeps you attached to materials and so forth, your vibration increases. So in actual fact, you increase automatically by letting go of everything. It's like a hot air balloon, you know? I don't know if you're familiar with it, a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
You have the basket and so forth. And as you take off the weights, it flies higher.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's naturally designed to do. So what you do, everything that the baggage that you've taken on, you let go of, you fly higher.
Yeah.
So your vibration raises. The more your vibration raises, more veils come off the soul, more veils come off your mind. You basically now start to see the world. The world starts to change for you because you're picking up on stuff. So you're now noticing and you want to participate. You want to be part of it. And that's how it works. So the key is to work on yourself. And then as you're working on yourself, as you become more who you are, more you start to become that aspect of yourself, you start creating a ripple effect to change others. You're not there to take on responsibility, I need to change people. I'm not here to change people either. I share the message, I radiate what I radiate, and then people feel drawn and they make changes within themselves. And that's basically how it works. I'm not going to, pick you up and say, okay, you got to change, you got to do this, you got to do that. I'm going to tell you, if you want to be part of it, you want to be part of this now, you need to play with this part of it. That's it. I'm going to share the information, the clarity, whatever it is, and also give you some tools, if beneficial, and then you go out and you have to do it. You're learning to walk. You're learning the one that needs to get up and do it because it's your journey. We're all interconnected, but it's all individual journeys at the same time.
Yeah, no. But I'm into what everybody has to do. But what you're saying is people have to go into their feelings and look at why they feel that and that and that.
Exactly.
And if they have some feelings that's too heavy, maybe they have to go and get help from a healer or a psychotherapist or something.
Well, the thing is, most of it you can do yourself, but there are going to be opportunities. Well, what happens is when you're going to somebody that is already at a state where they can actually see it, because a lot of times, we're looking at ourselves, we can't really see it because we're so caught up in the whole thing. So sometimes an outside perspective, somebody that's got an open mind and has already done work on themselves and they are able to guide you, it can speed things up for you. So you're not really going to a healer, you're going to someone that actually has a higher perspective that can actually show you a path out of it. So really what you're doing, nobody's going through a healing process, everybody's going through an adjustment process. You're just adjusting your consciousness, you're just adjusting your programs, right? So if you're having heavy emotions and so forth, and you go to somebody and you're working with somebody, they're going to help you look at saying, okay, what are we seeing? Why are you feeling this way? Yes, okay, now we're looking at this. So it's a lot easier